Look, it is in their interest to talk down the economy. You know, they don't. You know, when we came into office, about the time I remember, we sat there in Austin in December of 2000. The first thing we did after the election was have a series of meetings. And one of the meetings was with business executives. We had the head of GE, Walmart, we had a bunch of small business people. We had the head of Verizon, we named the elephant. And it was painful to listen to because they said, "Look, you got a recession coming." And you know, we walk into office and one of the first things we get is a recession. Then we get 9/11. You know how many jobs the American economy shed in 90 days following 9/11? 1 million people lost their jobs in the 90 days after 9/11 because there is an economic cost to terrorism. And yet, by cutting taxes at just the right time, we boosted the economy and gave us good growth. Now, we have a problem in the credit markets and a problem in housing. I sat in those meetings starting 4 and 5 years ago when the administration was talking about reform of Fannie and Freddie, about so-called GSE reform, government-sponsored enterprise reform. Because even then the signs were clear that these companies were doing more than they should and were trying to, that they got too big, thought they would never fail, and as a result they were getting risky. They were giving out loans to people without documents. They were giving out loans with zero down and no principal payments, just interest only. They were betting that the value of housing would continue to rise over time, and they were getting risky, and they're getting too big, and they were competing with private lenders because of the implied promise that the government would bail them out. They were able to borrow money cheaper and lend it cheaper, and they were in bed with guys like Countrywide. And we started fighting for GSE reform 4 years ago. Started developing the plans nearly 5 years ago and proposed it to Congress, I think, nearly 4 years ago. And those, you know, the biggest lobbyists in Washington are the GSEs. They got everybody covered up. I made a speech in front of a little Chamber of Commerce fly-in for a member of Congress when we were starting on the GSE reform effort and said, this is a problem. These enterprises are too big and they are encouraging risky patterns of lending, and it will create a bubble, and this will be problematic for our economy. And by the time I got back to the White House, I had phone calls from Republican lobbyists on their payroll saying, we understood you said something to a group not much larger than this. And we'd like to come in and brief you on the reality of it. But the chickens came home to roost. And as a result, housing prices, which were artificially stimulated by all of this, have come down. People invested in their houses and now see that their homes are worth less. More people are at risk. I mean, granted, look, just about 4% of Americans, actually 2% of Americans are in foreclosure and 4% are at risk. So we do have, 90-some-odd% who aren't, but it depresses everybody's, the entire class of assets, housing is depressed. And until we set those asset values, other asset values are not going to set. But it was brought on by risky behavior where government gave a promise to private individuals who went out and made themselves very, very rich by risky practices that have put our economy at risk. But look, the economy is, I hate to say it, our economy has got a lot of strengths in it. We're an economy that grows more than, you look around the rest of the world and we have a stronger pattern of job creation, growth, income protection, home ownership than the rest of the world. And why? Because we have a dynamic, innovative, competitive economy. And what you do is, when the economy gets into rough waters, you strengthen those strengths, you don't weaken them. You don't raise taxes. You don't do things like, say, oh, we're going to make it easy for every small business in America to be unionized. So the local landscaper has 10 employees and 6 of them sign a card because some union guy is knocking on their door saying, we noticed you haven't signed that card yet, when are you going to sign it? You don't do that kind of stuff. You strengthen the things that have put you in a good place, and you don't weaken them. And the other side, frankly, wants to weaken them. They want to raise taxes. And look, I listened to that speech, you did too. It was poll-tested, focus grouped out the wazoo. One of my personal favorites is, I'm going to eliminate the capital gains tax for startups and small businesses, especially those that create high-paying, high-tech jobs. Now, first of all, he's going to double the capital gains tax, the dividend tax. But think about that. He's not, I mean, we got a young guy in Albuquerque, New Mexico, starting a little software company. Got a nice catchy name called Microsoft. It's a high-tech startup. So I guess the Barack Obama thing would say that Bill Gates, who started it, wouldn't have to pay capital gains taxes on his investment and on his startup. But those of you who invested in Microsoft 10 or 15 years later, you'd have to pay capital gains taxes. Think about it. We got an auto industry that's struggling. Okay, great. If you invest in, if you go out and buy stock